empowering the community. As mentioned before, the community plays a critical role towards, one, the issue of maintenance of the system, and two, also just be able to change their behavior in how they respond to use of a sewer system. This in case point, we are talking about now being able to supporting the utility to engage with the community on a behavioral change communication program for them to appreciate how best they manage both also their solid waste and also their fecal matter, because that's the main critical aspect that can be able to affect the functionality of the system. At the same time, also we have empowering the community to understand how they can be able to maintain the system for sustained service to mitigate blockages. This we have seen also to appreciate to a level extent for the residents to appreciate that they have a system that can, one, be able to manage the cleanliness of their households and of their plots.
So we were able to bring customers on board through continuous engagement by having public baraza. We also had landlord meeting in blocks of which we had identified would flow into the condominial sewer system. And this was made possible through various partnerships that we already had from a project partner, WSUP. We were also able to subsidize cost of connection through providing for labor through the contractor. We were also able to provide for designs at a free cost, and we were also able to provide some pipes and fittings for the connection. So ideally the cost that the customer would incur was the cost of connection, which was 5,000 Kenya shillings for the case of Naivasha Water, and also engagement with the artisan.
After the system was implemented, now it is about the sustainability. And sustainability of the system entails how to maintain this sewer system to be able to be functional at all times. So for us, the behavioral changes that we had to inculcate in these people is how to use the sewer system and which tools to use in this the sewer network in itself, and how to maintain it at a plot level. Because once you do a sewer network, the thing that follows is now the maintenance of it, which is usually not envisioned by so many people, because that is what brings about sustainability, is how you look up to this sewer now. Now that we have given you a sewer, the ownership of it comes from how you take care of it, how from the manhole level, from the plot level into the manhole, into now the treatment plant. So for us, the main focus was about from the plot level to the main manhole, because that is where we tell them to use the right tools. That is, if I can just elaborate, the tissue paper, to use the right tools, not to dump the sanitary wares, not to dump the diapers into the manholes or into the toilets, because that is what they were used to do. So those are some of the behavioral changes we had to enact in them after the project.
Community engagement. This is very key in the implementation of these projects, because this is a chance that you have to ensure that there is community ownership, there is uptake, and also there is protection of these systems, because the community will feel that this is our own project. So that is very critical and very key, because we believe in this approach that the community knows best which problems that is affecting them and how best to solve them. For us, it's only to provide the technical know-how and the technical knowledge to implement these projects.
There's community ownership. The community has been trained. We've done the project with them and worked with them on their management of the system. So at household level, they become champions of system maintenance, ensuring that only required waste gets into the system and therefore prevents blockages. It also prevents vandalism of infrastructure, that what we've seen in other places in town. People come, steal our manholes, they steal sewer system markers along the roads. We've not seen that within Kasoko. Why? Because the community has been engaged, they have ownership of the infrastructure, and they are looking forward to ensure that they get service over and over and over.
When we implement these projects, usually when we go in for the first time, you usually see a lot of grey water and sometimes black water along the roads. The environment in those areas is usually affected by this. You find kids playing in these pools where dirty water is present. And of course, that leads to a number of issues, including diseases that are spread easily within the community. And the change that happens thereafter, when you go back, you find this has reduced very drastically and is a positive impact on the community because they have better health, they have dignity, people can, clean up well, they have the value of their properties will increase because now they have fully serviced developments. So I would say this is a plus to the community and encourage that any utility thinking about extending its services should consider such kind of systems.
You need to also have a cost breakdown that ideally serves as a guide for when they are transitioning and also working with them throughout the journey, because one of the things you'll realize when you're implementing the condominial sewer is that you'll have different stakeholders you have to bring on board. One of them is the artisan that will be engaged with the upgrade of the current systems that we have. For our case, most of the landlords had pit latrines and some of them had septic systems. And so the person that is going to transition that particular facility into connecting to a condominial sewer, it's important that they have contacts or access to these particular persons. Another thing is also is a cost component in terms of the new connection fee that the utility ideally charges, and also the pipes and fittings that are needed to convert to this condominial system. So having that on board, and also the utility having an understanding and guiding the landlord or the customer on how they're going to go about realizing that transition is very, very important in ensuring 100% connectivity.
On community need processes, we started by identifying whom shall we be working with, where we started at the chief's office. And from the chief office, we identified the community of opinion leaders for Rhonda, whereby we identified the Nyumba Kumi, looking at the public health structure. We also are working with the community health promoter and the area sub-county public health officer. Again, we also included some few aspects of the Landlords Association and the Tenants Association to be included as a community task team. So the next thing, after identified a community task team that we'll be working with, the next thing was to lay an implementation plan on how shall we be able to identify what the community needs. And therefore, from that, we are able to do households survey. From the household survey, we identify the challenges and gaps that exist within the community of Rhonda.
Community ownership is a very important aspect when we come to Simplified Sewer. It's all about responsibility. It's about them taking responsibility of these sewer systems to be their own. In such a way that they can be able to report when there is a leak, or when there is a blockage, or when there is maybe someone has damaged the manholes or the sewer system itself. So we really, initially we were fostering the issue of the cluster groups, so that at the plot level we form a cluster group of 10 people per plot, so that these people, they own up their sewers, so that in case there is any blockage of the sewer system around your area, you know who to report to, you know the Nairobi Water contact to report to. And then we make sure our CDAs, they get in touch with these cluster representatives to make sure that they know who is in charge and who is to report to, who is then report to the Nairobi Water team for operation or for maintenance. So before we began the project, we had to go through the local leadership to buy in, for them to accept the project. So that is the first step for the implementation. And then after the local leadership, that is the chief and the ward administration, they buy into the project. Now we go to the village elders who are now in charge of each zone. We brief them about the project. Then from there, now they lead us to the community, to the people themselves, the users, who are mainly the landlords, because in this case we call them structure owners. So the structure owners are the people who are now people we will work with, because they are the people who will now give us their documents to be able to register them for a sewer connection. So we have a meeting with them to tell them what the project is about, how it will be implemented, and probably what is required of them for them to connect into our sewer line, and how much they'll be able to pay at the end of the connection, and the maintenance that will carry as a company to them once they start operating or using the system. So those are the steps we took, and it was a success.
Wakati nilikuwa nikiendelea, hii choo ilikuwa ya chimo, na hiyo shimo ilikuwa ikitoa hewa mbaya, na mimi nilikuwa nikitumia pesa mingi kwa kununua dawa ya kumaliza hewa hiyo, na tena choo isijae. Lakini wakati kampuni ilikuja ikaniuliza kama mimi naweza kubali kuwekewa sewage, nilikubali. Na wakati niliwekewa hiyo sewage, inanisaidia kwa sababu hakuna hewa sasa inatoka kwa choo, na inisaidia singeweza kukomboa gari kama choo imejaa itoe choo.
Na pia NAWASSCO imesaidia kwa maji ambayo imetusaidia naye wakati huu. Manake hatukosi maji. Makazi wanafurahia nyumba hizi zetu wakati huu sana. Hapo mbele nilikuwa chinda. Mkaji akija kwa mwezi mmoja mwezi bila natoka kwa nyumba, manake kinyesi ilikuwa ikionekana wazi pia shaka. Choo zinajaa. Takataka ilikuwa nyingi sana hapa. Lakini tangu huu mpango wa sewage ilikuja hapa, imetusaidia kutosha. Hata area yetu sasa imekuwa safi. Lakini sasa tumefurahia wakati huu sana vile ambaye umeendelea.